This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each and every week we take a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of all things wrestling video games. My name is George Feis.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash, and today we are playing 80's Mania Wrestling Returns for the iOS and Android. How will this game hold up? Will we play it forever?
Woo!
Or will we future endeavor?
You're fired!
We also discuss streaming, the legend of Curryman versus the UFOs, and more. Yeah.
And please make sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating and a review for this podcast on both Apple Podcast and Spotify, and follow along on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And don't forget, you can get early and ad-free access to these episodes along with show notes and a whole lot more for just $5 over at patreon.com/Game Marks Pod. Johnny Clash, my friend, how are you doing this week, sir?
I'm doing pretty damn good. Good game we have. Good game we had last week. We got to hang out a little bit this weekend, even after the giant flood storm that we endured.
Yeah,
over here in New York.
There was a lot of Johnny and George time had over the last week.
That's right. We had a good time. Let's talk about last week's game, TNA Impact, crossed the line on the Nintendo DS and the PSP. We got some kind of interesting feedback about the DS game. I don't know if you saw this, but CJ Martin on Twitter or X. Can I still call it Twitter? I'm just calling it Twitter.
It's Twitter. It's
Old man
X.
Yells at Cloud. It's Twitter. He wrote, "I just listened to the episode and I wish you had done Curryman's story in the 3DS game. It is bananas what they came up with for him. Wasn't expecting why he needed to win the world title belt." So after I see that, knowing it's Curryman, knowing it's TNA, I had to do a deep dive. So Curryman sensed something was coming and decided to ask James Storm to let him borrow one of the tag team title belts to help him save the world. James Storm said no and made a handicap match, which was a programming error in the game because it accidentally put Bobby Roode on Curryman's team. And after that, Curryman then decided he needs to win the world title belt, but Hulk Hogan wouldn't let him challenge for it at first, but he allowed him a shot at the X Division title. He then tried to trade title belts with Kurt Angle because the X Division title wasn't curved the way he wanted it to be. He then proceeded to bury Kurt Angle, then Abyss, who Kurt Angle told that Curryman actually wants to destroy the world, then AJ Styles, before finally beating Kurt Angle again to actually get the world heavyweight title. Here we go. Ready? Then a UFO appears after the match, but Curryman uses the world title to deflect the laser beam and destroys the UFO and saves the world. So now, the end screen, Mike Tenay said, "This is the most incredible night in TNA history. Curryman has single-handedly repelled a hostile alien invasion, saving TNA and the entire world." And people complain about Fight Forever storylines. That's a lot to digest, I know.
I don't have words for that.
Yeah.
It's a video game storyline, that's for damn sure. That's the only place that storyline happens.
Only in TNA. But I love that Mike Tenay says this is the most incredible night in TNA history, not world history. In TNA history, he stops an alien invasion. The aliens, like I picture the aliens from The Simpsons, like coming down.
Yeah,
going to take over the world, and Curryman's just like, no, deflects the laser
not
beam.
Today.
With the so now I'm kind of intrigued, even though I said future endeavor, to check out the other.
You're going to swap that quickly off of just a Curryman storyline?
I'm not swapping, but I at least need to read the premise for like AJ Styles, Abyss, and all that. Because this one was wild.
I was not expecting that. Speaking of, have you gone back and played any more of this game?
Hell no, but we know WCW Worldwide over on Twitter, who's in our Discord, mentioned that we're making him real itchy to buy the game. So, and it seemed like a lot of people did have the DS version, which was kind of shocking to me.
I feel like the DS is kind of like an unsung, or not unsung, weird contender for wrestling games. Like it's, when you think about the good titles that were on the Advance and what we got there, to then think of what we ended up getting on the DS, it's interesting. We talked about it last week. The dual screen is a somewhat innovative way to deal with a wrestling game. Having to be in the middle of the match and then all of a sudden you're just like tapping stuff.
I'd rather just one wide screen like the PSP.
Yeah, that's my preference as well. But you got to admit, it adds an extra little flavor or flair to the game.
I don't know. Just not for me. I mean, this game is just not for me. Fun, we played it, but yeah, I'm good. Something else I wanted to bring up, which is kind of crazy, but they're already shutting down the servers for WWE 2K22 on January 3rd. The game, like, I feel like hasn't even been out that long. I mean,
it feels like it just came out.
23 came out, what, in March? They kept the 2K19 servers all the way through the pandemic and up until recently.
It's weird. Weird thing.
I get it. It's to boost holiday sales for 2K23. But still, I mean, Sunset, a lot of people put hard work into that game.
I feel like the other games got much longer shelf lives, in the sense of, like, I feel like the 2K18 servers were on forever. Like, those were on, I want to say, up until like almost the end of the pandemic.
Yeah, because 2K20 was such a flop. They had to.
Yeah, but just, I feel like servers are on for maybe this is like a new thing that they're going to be doing, where they don't have the servers or stay on for as long as they used to.
That's just bad. I get it. You're trying to sell games, but that's just bad. I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
What have you been playing? How's Counter-Strike 2?
It's good. It's a lot of fun. I've kind of fallen in love with Counter-Strike all over again. It's pretty. I talked about it last week. The lighting effects are really good. The game just feels smooth and nice. And I also have been getting back into Rocket League. I'm kind of falling back into my old, like, winter game trends of, like, comfort games, and like, oh, I like these games. These are fun. Like, this new season of Rocket League starts, I go back and I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on here. Am I still bad at this game? Yes, I am.
Yeah. No one's good after coming back that long.
Yeah.
Man, I'm so deep into Fortnite. It's crazy.
Oh,
I'm still trying to get good with mouse and keyboard. I'm just not winning like the up close gun battles that way.
Oh, well, let's talk about this. You started your own YouTube channel, or you restarted your YouTube channel.
Hey, head on over to youtube.com/@Johnny Clash. It's my channel. I used to just post my promos, my matches there, but I decided to give it a little revamp. I'm playing Fortnite. I'm playing NHL. I'm playing Age of Empires. I got some other stuff cooking, some Marvel Snap. I'm just filming and I'm just throwing it in there. I figured I'm not really ever going to set aside time to live stream, especially with my crazy schedule. But I do still play a lot of games. So if I could sit there for like 20, 30 minutes and just play a game, turn my camera on and talk, I'm going to post it.
Why not?
And they're not all going to be like, oh, I won this game. I'm winning every game. Like, I posted an NHL game where I lose in a shootout. But it's just, I just thought it was fun. So I'm going to keep posting. I'm posting shorts. I had a really good Fortnite win last night. So immediately on the Xbox, I clipped it, the last minute of it. I love the Star Wars stuff that they added. I'm afraid it's going to be going away soon with the Halloween stuff.
Yeah, but they've already been posting a lot of promos about like Fortnite Mirrors and stuff. But I mean, Fortnite Mirrors is fun.
It's
what
fun,
I would like to do?
But it doesn't count towards your wins.
Yeah, you know what I would like to do one day? I would like to try with you, maybe on a video, like real Fortnite.
Like with building?
No. Like save the world.
Oh.
Like that's what Fortnite was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a co-op, like essentially like a zombie defense game.
Yeah, I started to Save the World. I don't think I ever finished it.
Yeah, I would like to dive into that, and I feel like this podcast would be an interesting place to do it.
We could try. Yeah, why not?
Why not?
I remember it being kind of fun. I mean, it's playing the game you like just against not humans. So
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, are you ready to dive in to this week's game?
let's go back to the 80s.
All right, 80's Mania Wrestling Returns, released June 19th, 2018 on the iOS and Android, published and developed by Checkmate Creative LLC. And other games you've got in the wrestling space in 2018, you've got Fire Pro Wrestling World Wonder Ring Stardom, and WWE 2K19. Now, the World Wonder Ring Stardom is the DLC pack for Fire Pro Wrestling, right?
Yeah, it's part of Fire Pro.
Yeah.
Good year. Good year. We've said it before, 2K19, one of my favorite 2Ks. One of really good. I feel like it just started clicking and then it all just went downhill after that. Like, imagine
Is 19 or 18? When we were talking about 2K before, is 19 the one that everyone loved, or 18?
I loved 19.
19's AJ?
Yes.
And 18 is Seth.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So earlier when we were talking about the 2K that stayed on forever that everyone loved, I was thinking of 19. I was thinking of 19, but it said 18.
Yeah, 19 definitely stayed on throughout the whole 2K20 and then canceling 2K21. Yeah, it's okay. You're allowed. But 80's Mania Wrestling Returns. This is pretty much a booking sim, but it's kind of got just more to it. It's, say you take your EWRs and you mix them with like the GM modes of now, like the 2K GM modes or AEW Elite GM. It's more like that, but there's a lot of 80s and 90s pop references in here. It goes through both of them. The music is very 80s and 90s. It's just like a really nice visual package rather than having everything just be text back and forth. Like, it's an upgrade from that, like EWR.
Yeah, it's almost, you talked about it during our playthrough. It's almost like a cross of that and I don't know. It's like GM. Supercard, I feel like does a lot with the cards and they like jump off the rope and like climb off the, like hop off the top rope and stuff. But it's a good combination of that style of a booking sim with, you know what? I'll just say it. We're going to talk about it a little bit more in depth later. It's got some pretty decent, like fun looking sprites.
I think the whole package is just really nice.
Yeah. And it feels like that type of game. It doesn't feel like it's trying to be something else. Like, it's not like this is a sim that's also packaged as another game. Like, this is Inside and Out. Feels like that.
Yeah. And I mean, 2018, it's coming before the AEW game. It's coming before WWE revamped theirs for 2K. So it's kind of leading the pack here. And when we get to the ratings and reviews, we're going to see just why. But pretty much your objective is to make money, just like every other wrestling game. You start off, you get 3 feds to choose from. There's Rock and Roll. There's I think just WW it was called, right?
Is it WoW?
I think it was,
it was WW.
World
and
Wrestling.
there was, and there was like the world in the center.
Yeah, and then ABCW, I think it was, or AD.
Yes, ABCW, R&R, and then WW.
Right. So each give you kind of a different style boost, whichever one you pick. Then you pick your GM. There's an Eric Bischoff looking guy, there's a Vince looking guy, and then there's a Paulie Walnuts looking guy. You'll know who's who is the second you jump in. But you could start with the top tier GM, which will pretty much take all of your money, and then whatever you have to make on the first show is what you make, but you get a higher boost. So you could work that way, or you could go on the opposite end and get the rookie who looks like Eric Bischoff. Yeah. And you could work your way up with all of your money and use it towards the end. I think that's the route we went. That's the route I definitely went every time I played through.
It just depends on what you're going for. Are you going to make money and have a robust roster, or are you just going to have the best like promos and star ratings for every segment on the show?
Or are you in it for the long run? Like we were in it for a video to show you guys how to play the game. So we picked the guy who would give us the most money so we could go in, pick the wrestlers, pick the promos. When I played by myself, I picked the middle one just so I could have a little bit of both. There's a little happy medium. And maybe as I keep going, I'll give some updates how that goes. But most likely, if the other games that I've played prove anything, I'm going to lose all of my money very soon and probably just get frustrated and start over.
Oh, God. Well, let's dive into the actual ins and outs of the game here. So with the, I don't know how do we, there's like, it's cards, but then it's sprites in the matches. So is it like how do we refer to them as cards? Cause we'll talk about how there's like variants of the cards as well.
Packs of cards, but you can't really say it's a card game.
Yeah, because
that's how you acquire stuff. It's kind of like how in WWE Battlegrounds, there are action figures in the shop, but when you play,
wrestlers. So that's actually a really good analogy because it's interesting. It's fun and exciting in the sense of that, like, if you're into card breaks and things like that, like you get that satisfying aspect of it. And there are foil versions of every wrestler, and the foil versions are stronger for all of the character ratings. And then obviously their maximum level is higher. But they're foil. So they're also the like rarer item in the game, but it's cool in the sense of, I'll equate it to like a holographic in a Pokemon deck. Like,
yeah.
It's a fun
rare cards.
Fun and exciting experience, and that gives you a little bonus. And it's not just like we'll throw it back to Marvel Snap, another card game where if you get like a cool variant, there's not really a bonus to it. It just looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, but these give you higher max. And of course, all of your stats are tracked, as well as title history and all the championship belts. And there's year-end awards when you make it through a year. Now, it does consist of, I believe, 5 weeks of matches that you put together.
It's starts 4 in a pay-per-view, right?
And a pay-per-view, but there's also that whole, like, did you know thing? Or the more
it's like a little knowledge
little tip.
Yeah.
That looks like it wastes a week, but it really doesn't. But yeah, you start off small. You could start in like a little bingo hall and you work your way up to like a carnival or like a big festival or an arena. And of course, like the smaller venues cost less or almost nothing, but you're going to get less revenue back from the fans. So again, the point is to make money. So we suggest starting small, working your way up. Don't go for the carnival right away.
You get more of a rewarding experience by doing it that way. You really get an understanding and a feel for the ins and outs of the game.
I also felt like it wasn't super hard where like the new 2K GM modes, I'm losing week after week after
Unless
week.
you're Johnny Cobra, in which case the game is very difficult.
Poor Johnny Cobra. But it wasn't that hard. Like you make money still every week, even when your star ratings are low per match. Like one's the worst, but then dud is nothing.
I think the lowest we got in our playthrough was like $25 or something like that.
Yeah, we got like $68 once. We got a couple bucks.
70,
pay-per-view
and
was
then the pay-per-view was like
250.
$200. Yeah. All right. So it goes up and it ebbs and flows. And if you take the time to book the segments with like the maximum amount of available options, like make sure that you're doing a promo and have a manager, like all these things boost up the scores of the individual segments.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool that way. Now, there are match types in here that you could...
Just a few
match types. We're going to read these because the rosters is way too big. We're not going to read the roster this week because they're still adding, there's still DLC, there's still blah, blah, blah. So I'll take you through the match types here. So you have barbed wire, bull rope, burning ring, casket, coal miner's glove, yes, continuum, dog collar, exploding ring, false count anywhere, flag match, hair match, I quit, Iron Man, ladder, legends. I don't know what a legends match is. I guess just 2 legends. Loser leaves town, lumberjack, no holds barred, prison cell, scaffold, steel cage, submission, tables, weapons, and a good old wrestling match.
Damn, that's a good selection.
Now, you only start with the wrestling match, though. And then you have to unwrap new cards, and that's when you acquire these match types. But along with that, there's also mic spots, there's skits, there's wrestlers that you'll also acquire. There's stuff for your merch stand that will help you acquire more money. Like there's t-shirts and action figures and all that, more cards and everything. Now, the mic spots were kind of cool. That's where you kind of throw a segment into the mix here. You're required, what was it? It was like 1 or 2 a show.
Yeah, I think it was,
1 or 2 a show, and then you could kind of swap.
2? I don't think it was more than that.
Yeah. So that's where pretty much your wrestler gets on the mic, speaks to the fans. But the coolest part, there were actual voice lines for each wrestler in here. So they got on the mic, like the
voice lines are in some instances just like sound effects.
Yeah, but like Pelvis Presley, the Elvis looking guy, said something about his blue suede shoes.
Yeah.
And the Indiana Jones looking guy said something about...
I'm just here for treasure and...
glory, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
So that was kind of cool. And kind of unexpected, kind of caught me off guard. I was listening like, whoa, who's talking? Well, is that George?
I wanted to mention this because you brought up the roster, and like you said, we're not reading the roster. It's not only for the fact that they are adding people constantly. The roster is massive. It's easily over 150 names.
Oh, without question.
It's gigantic. And everyone or most of the people have a real world counterpart or a video game counterpart. Maybe that works. Mm-hmm. There's Starboy, which is very reminiscent, like an updated version of Starman from original pro wrestling. There's someone that looks like it was a Piranha Man.
Piranha Man, yep.
Also reminiscent of a pro wrestling character as well. And then you've got real world counterparts. Who did we see?
Jet Set Strutter, the Ric Flair guy.
Yep.
Laser,
you had Ric Flair.
Surfer Sting.
You had Rockers, Sean and Marty.
Dude Brohan, who is obviously Hulk Hogan.
And you even had a Garbage Pail Kid looking wrestler, which was kind of, but they kind of pull things from all things like 80s, 90s pop culture, which was kind of fun. You had someone who could have been like a homage to the Brood, but also may have also been Kiefer Sutherland's character from the Lost Boys, which was, it's interesting to see those kinds of characters within a wrestling game. And then you had who was the guy that you kept calling Old Greg?
I don't remember
Thorny Jim or something like that.
It looked just like Old Greg though. Could have been the inspiration.
Thorny Trog.
Thorny Trog?
Or no, maybe not.
I don't think that was that person. But as we said earlier, there's also managers you can add. There's a Mr. Miyagi looking fella that goes with Johnny Cobra. You kind of got a whole little Cobra Kai world there. There is the small, what would you call him? Billionaire cowboy looking guy.
Oh yeah, he kind of looked like
cigar,
I can't remember the guy that the actual real life counterpart, but he kind of looks like a combination of that guy from the old school WWF with like Yosemite Sam.
Yeah, and Colonel Sanders and all that.
Who's the guy that I'm thinking of that used to come out with? I want to say it was Jared, but it's not.
I know who you're thinking of. I just don't know either. Now, the cards you get with these wrestlers on them, the lowest rated is Jobber. Then you get Opener, Mid-Carder, Upper Mid-Carder, Main Eventer, Legendary. And the status kind of affects the match. We tried getting Johnny Cobra over. We couldn't get him over. I don't think he won a single match our entire playthrough, but we tried. And just like Pokemon cards, these go from common to uncommon to rare.
Damn.
How much fun was it opening a Pokemon card pack and seeing that little star in the bottom left corner?
So,
like, I got a rare one.
So good. Colonel Parker.
All right, so then we mentioned the mic spot cards before. There's also skits.
Yes.
Which are pretty funny. There's like vignettes or like entertainment cards where you'll do like a montage, like a video package of hyping some. We always pick Johnny Cobra. We tried making Johnny Cobra.
Trying to send him to the moon. It just was not happening.
We just couldn't do it. He couldn't win a damn match. let's talk about the artwork here.
Ugh.
The art style, the graphics, and all of that. We
Big
touched
fan.
on how nice they were. Now, I noticed, what was that game we played that was like Pokemon, that was an RPG?
Brasstown?
Brasstown. So remember in Brasstown, when you entered a match, there was kind of like that disconnect where it looked different than the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So I feel like this game is very cohesive. Everything looks nice. You enter the match, it still looks like what it looks like in the menu and all that. But then the in-between screen is just like a way more detailed wrestling ring with two wrestlers with a crowd. And that kind of feels weird because you're kind of expecting that. And then it goes into this weird crowd shot that has this ripple effect going through it to make it look like the crowd's moving.
I think that may be the worst part of the whole game. Every other aspect functionally of the game, I think it works. That is the one thing I was like,
I'll say
even
this.
if it was just a non-moving crowd with just like flashes of a camera, I would have taken that.
I'll say this though, we played it with the screen larger for me and you to play through.
That's true.
When I played this on my phone a couple days ago,
Probably didn't even notice it.
Did not notice that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cool crowd shot, a little monotone. You know, we like our crowds. We like our depth in our crowds to make them look nice. But you're really focused on the wrestlers here. You could even skip them. You could skip right to the results if you want to speed through this, which is probably what I'll do if I continue this.
Which is another thing that you could do in AEW as well.
Yeah.
Or you could do in AEW.
Yeah. Rest in peace. I enjoyed watching the first couple rounds because they do go quick. You know, you feel like you're missing something if you just speed through them and don't watch it. Like, I'm like, oh, what if I miss something cool? Once you see a couple, you're like, all right, it's all the same. I mean, get your star rating and get out of here.
Yeah.
But I think everyone, like drawing-wise, graphically, beautiful.
Presentation
So nice.
is great. The colors are vibrant. All of the wrestlers look like they are plucked straight out of the 80s and the 90s. Everyone's got like a character gimmick just like they did then.
Even jobbers.
Even the jobbers, yeah. Everything, just the style artistically. It almost kind of reminds me of the Phil Singer cards.
Did you know? Did you know Phil Singer Games put out a complete set based on the wrestlers of 80's Mania Wrestling Returns?
Did you know a modern version is also available for all devices titled Modern Mania Wrestling GM, which features some familiar looking faces?
Did you know 80's Mania Wrestling Returns is free to play and still available in your app store with constant updates and new cards and wrestlers released? Now, did you know that there was card sets before you said that?
No.
Okay, well, what you're looking at here is actually the cards.
Well, no, I thought about that when we were in the game too. Like the characters, like the design of the characters look like that style. Like they were, like it looks like they are either influenced or plucked straight from that. So one, kudos on a cool segue into the Did You Know. That I finally figured out how I can Uno reverse you going into the Did You Know, and that's how.
Yeah. Well, man, we're going to get into those in a second, but the latest release was Mudhog and Slophound, who look just like Bebop and Rocksteady from the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, I was going to say, is it supposed to be... Yes, it is that. But I also was like, is this also the Nasty Boys?
It may be a little combo. Maybe a combo of both. I feel like they would have had nicer neon shirts. If that was the case.
Maybe it's both like that. Maybe it's supposed to be there. It's Bebop and Rocksteady meets the Nasty Boys.
Yeah, but that was only 2 weeks ago, so they're still cranking out cards here.
Now, another reason why it's impossible to read this roster, because by the time we release the episode, it will probably be outdated.
Yeah, so now 80's Mania Wrestling Part 1, there's an 8-pack. There's a bunch of packs, Phil Singer. I think there's 2 sets total. You could buy the complete set for $49.99, or you can get the 8-pack for $15. I know our community is very big on these cards.
Oh, yeah.
And Out?
Our community is so big on the cards that some of the guys in the Discord, one of them actually is in the live recording chat right now, started to design their own artwork for cards. So shout out to Soups and to Will was also doing it. There was a couple people that got into the card designing game for a little bit after we did it, and they still post progress on their cards as well.
I think I made a Jamie Hayter card.
See, even Johnny Clash getting in on it.
Yeah, it's fun. But let's talk about the ratings and reviews here, because this game is still going. There's still ratings and there's still reviews. So on the Google Play Store, it's 4 out of 5 stars. There's 5,000.36 K reviews.
It's a good number. A lot
Over
of reviews.
100,000 downloads, and it's 4 out of 5 stars. Crazy. That is crazy.
That's good. That's a good number to have review-wise, and that's a hell of a rating considering how many games are actually in the App Store.
Yeah. So let's read one of these reviews here. I've now played through once, and I'm on my second. It's funny, nostalgic, creative, engrossing, and takes me back to the 1980s-ish when I was a 6th grader and never missed the local weekly wrestling show. I made a game with cards and a notebook paper back then, and this game is what I would have wished for. I love the stats, the ratings, the ridiculous number of championship titles, and the different feds. Just a fantastically entertaining game all the way around. Thanks from the bottom of my childhood for all your hard work, developers. Doesn't get any better than that. Huh?
That's a perfect review, and fairly recent, 3 years ago.
Yeah, well, here's one even more recent. The Apple App Store is a 4.8 out of 5 stars.
Damn.
1.9 thousand ratings. And now a 5-star rating from only 2021. Best booking game. Just the perfect blend of depth, but easy enough to just pick up and play compared to the majority of other wrestling booking games, which in my opinion are too text heavy and turn into a mess of numbers and names after a while. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
When I first loaded into this game, it's a little overwhelming because it's just a lot of stuff. It's a lot of neon. You don't really know what you're looking at. But they do a really good job when you start a new game of walking you through the entire first month.
They make sure that you have no questions. And as the game progresses and you unlock more things, they are always there to kind of lead you through it and make sure that, one, you understand in a, like this review just said, in a not text heavy way, exactly what you're supposed to be doing and the benefits. Like, hey, this is what you're doing next, and if you do it well, this is the bonus that you can get, and then you're put into the situation, which is nice because how many games have we played where there's like a 10, 15-minute tutorial on a simple mechanic?
Yeah. Now I'm looking. There was another game that came out, a wrestling card game, similar to this, called Wrestle Champs. Do you remember this?
I do.
We were featured in the game. Unfortunately, it looks like they just gave up. Now I believe we gave them some criticism to, nothing bad. Constructive criticism. They were asking us, like, what could we do? We polled our Discord, who also played through the game. I just don't think it ever picked up steam. And I think there was just too many moving parts where it just didn't click. Whereas a game like this, it kind of helps you make it click, and it's visually just beautiful. And it's looking like Wrestle Champs hasn't updated in over a year.
Ooh.
Yikes. Maybe I'll give them a little message and see what's up, see what's happening.
Yeah.
But you always like to see these indie games succeed. You like seeing these. I was honestly shocked at the star ratings here for this game, but nice. I mean, I guess if you want a booking sim, a GM game, for years we didn't have one, this would have been it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But with that, I think it's time to offer up our rating, because right now it's time to rate the game.
Would you look at the time?
The game!
All right, Johnny Clash.
All right.
Kick us off here. 80's Pro Wrestling, or 80's Mania Wrestling Returns. Will you play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
So,
I'm very curious to hear this.
I started my playthrough last weekend when I had a flat tire, and I brought my car to Mavis, and I was sitting in the waiting room for an hour and a half, and that's when I ran through a bunch of this game. It got me through the time, but for me to sit there and like actually play this, I just didn't think I would enjoy it. I didn't really enjoy it that much my first playthrough. When you're playing on a screen that's, I don't even have my phone with me, that's this big, it's kind of like there's a lot happening right now. There's a lot of things moving. There's a lot of animations. I don't know. But then today we played it bigger, the iPad version on BlueStacks, which is an Android emulator on my computer screen. I have no problem saying that. I don't care.
No, we've talked about it. We emulate as much as we can.
Well, we really only did that just so me and you could see it at the same time.
Yes.
And playing it on a bigger screen is kind of a whole new experience. And when we were done, I said to you, I think I have to rethink my rating here.
Which is why I wanted you to kick us off with this.
With that, I'm going to say play it forever. Woo! Because now that the tutorial's done, I feel like I could just go.
Yep.
And I could play. And I think I might just do that.
Hell yes.
Now, Jamie Patterson, Soups, in the chat said it's probably the best mobile game for wrestling. I know there's a lot of M. Dickey fans, but let's be real. This is the king of mobile wrestling bookers. From what we've seen, I think we also have to agree.
Hey, there can be more than one good wrestling game.
Oh, for sure. But there could only be one king. But George, I want to know what you think. Will you play it forever or future endeavor?
I gotta tell you, I didn't think I was going into this game getting blown away and wanting to play more of this. But yeah, for all of the reasons that you just said, it is a not overly complicated Booker game, which admittedly not usually my cup of tea, but there was something about this that just wasn't drawn out, and the graphic style is really, really cool. The menu, simple, clean, self-explanatory, no guessing, and they hold your hand throughout the beginning of the game without being overbearing, which I think is the best way to introduce someone to a game. So, yeah, play it forever.
Woo! Double piff. All right, cool. Yeah, now I kind of want to hear what everyone else has to say. We got kind of our Discord's feelings. We got our own feelings. Let us know. Have you played this game? Will you now play this game? Or do you play Modern Wrestling Returns? Because I think that's got to go on the list now.
Yeah.
So, cool. I enjoyed this playthrough, so let's see what happens.
It was, again, I know I just said it, but so surprising. Was not expecting to get as much enjoyment out of this game as I did. But yeah, pleasantly surprised. But with that, John, is it time for us to get into this week's Soft Lock?
Yep.
All right, the Soft Lock is a weekly segment where one of our mega marks from our Patreon gives us a topic to debate, a question to discuss. It's a question of the week with a fancy name, and this week the question comes from our good friend Tecker. Tecker's question is streaming a dying breed? Or sorry, is streaming games dying a slow death after the pandemic? I don't think it's dying a slow death because of the end of the pandemic. I think it has opened a lot of people's eyes into exactly how much work goes into streaming and how, in order to be successful at streaming, you have to commit a lot of time to it. And, you know, you look at some of the big names that are on Twitch currently, you know, the faces of streaming for both on YouTube or Twitch or whatever platform you want to say. Those are people who went to work, had a regular full-time job, and then came home and streamed for like another, 5 or 6 hours. Like, and they are the first people to admit that when you are starting out, it is a long, intense grind because of the amount of time that you have to put in, essentially working 2 jobs.
So I've been listening to AFK with Ninja. I watch his stream every single day. I watch Avery's stream every single day. Courage, whoever's on. My second monitor always has a stream on just because it passes the time, or a podcast, something. Ninja said his whole mindset changed once he felt burnt out from streaming 8 hours. He says if you're going to have, say, 200 people streaming 2 hours, why would you have 1,000 people streaming 8 hours? Don't burn yourself out. Just start small and keep building up.
Yep.
I mean, the guy's worth $40 million doing what he did, and now he has no contracts anywhere. He
streams on everything.
He doesn't make money on Twitch at all. He barely makes money on YouTube. He's on TikTok streaming. It's all just sponsorships and whatnot. So you have to build yourself small. But is streaming dying after the pandemic? No, I think it just got kind of rethought. The way you go about things.
It's not as sad now that people aren't home all the time. I think people kind of realize that, like, hey, this is like, streaming is great and I have a lot of fun interacting with my community and stuff, but there's also, a whole world out there to see and things to do. And you just spent the last 2.5, 3 years cooped up. You go get out there and see your friends and family. It's a weird combination of things, but yeah, I don't.
Well, I think that applies to people who have made it.
Yeah. Like
if you're just starting streaming, or if you're a small streamer, I mean, if you want it to be your full-time job, you have to commit to it.
Oh, God.
You have to be good at it.
And when the thing that I tell everyone that comes to us about streaming, I always say the same thing. When you think that you're going to stop because it's not like going the way that you thought, because like your viewership is down or whatever, that's when you really need to kind of push through it, because that's that low point that you have to kind of get through to then start building yourself back up. Because yeah, Twitch and streaming in general is nothing but ebbs and flows. It's just, one day you've got 20 people watching, the next day you've got 2, and then 100, and then you're getting rated and you're 1,000, and then
well, that
you're back down to 2.
That was the whole thing about not having a Twitch contract, not making money off Twitch, and then YouTube. YouTube is great, but then there's that whole nice little sidebar on the right the entire time that's just suggesting other stuff for you to watch. So it's not as easy to hold your attention. There's no rating on YouTube.
Yep.
Like there's no way. It's
not
exactly
yet. They always are saying they're going to implement new stuff.
But it's called YouTube for a reason. It's only you. There's no community on YouTube because it's the entire world, where Twitch is a gaming community.
Yeah.
If you're watching Twitch, most likely when you're done, you're going to go watch another channel.
Or you're going to go play a game,
or play a game and stream,
you're
or
feeling
something.
Inspired to go do that.
But like if Ninja ends his stream, I'm going to watch Maddie Matheson make chopped cheese for like 3 hours, and I'm not going back to like another stream, or watching your mom's house, a podcast or something.
Yeah. So
it
was a very interesting question. Thank you for that one, Tecker. And hey, let us know what you think about the current state of streaming, not necessarily just on Twitch, but on all forms of the internet. You can let us know at all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Now, usually this is where I tell John to tell me what we're playing next week, but I would like to do the honors this week and let everybody know that next week we're going back and we're doing a remastered episode. It's been a while since we've done one of these. I'm very excited because I get to right one of my biggest wrongs on this podcast. We are going back and we are doing a remastered version of WWE Day of Reckoning.
Yes, I am so excited.
I'm all for it.
You gotta right this wrong here.
Got to right this wrong. We're gonna strike the biggest error in my Play It Forever Future Endeavor listing, and we're gonna come out swinging. But
we dropped this episode September 2nd, 2019. So we didn't have a format. We didn't know what we were doing. We were like 3 or 4 episodes in. We are now going to do it the right way.
All right. Well, with that, I think there's only one thing left to do. YouTube.com/GameMarksPodcast for our weekly playthrough videos and a whole lot more. GameMarksPod.com/shop for our exclusive merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for our shirt designs. And John and I just talked. We're going to be kind of getting back into the swing of putting up new shirts occasionally. It's been a bit, and with the holiday season coming on, we've got some new fun ideas. Patreon.com/GameMarksPod for this show, early and ad-free, with your chance to submit your own soft lock questions and join in on the live recordings that we do for just $5 a month at Game Marks Pod on all forms of social media. And please, it really does help the podcast. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and leave us a rating and a review on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And of course, if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this podcast, please reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. With that, Johnny Clash, gotta tell you, very, very excited for next week's episode. Cannot wait. And now I pass the mic, the torch, over to you, my friend. Whenever you are ready, do that thing.
Game over. Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future Endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast, how can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.